There's our protagonist lying on the ground, beaten and desperate. And to think, it all started when he was hit by a creature that was supposed to be just a line of code. It was at that moment that the 17th year of his life was about to end, or at least that's what he thought was going to happen. We go back 3 months earlier near a burning volcano. Down there are 2 people facing a dragon, which comes charging toward the human with a shield. The blonde guy shouts, saying there's a strong attack coming, and tells Mauki, be careful. The monster comes to smack the shield man. Man, I thought the kid was going to hold out a little, but the shield got destroyed, blown into the wall with his HP dropping straight to 1. The system says that super resistance was activated and there are still 46 remaining. And Naoki, lying on the ground, says that this thing always makes his heart race. Then the blonde guy charges in, thanking Naoki, saying he created the perfect opening. He swings a slash with his sword and the dragon dissolves, turning to something kind of digital. With that, the blonde guy levels up to level 20 and says that finally, the conditions for class change have arrived. The blonde guy's name is Hiro Ai and is a level 20 warrior. Naoki says he can't keep using his older brother as a tanker like that. Even though it was a game, dropping to 1 HP every time was scary. Then he gets up, saying that's enough leveling for today because he has to go to work. His brother's making a face, but he knows he doesn't have a choice. So Naoki says goodbye, saying that tomorrow, he'll help him level up again. He believes that one day, his brother will be number 1 at the top. The blonde guy thanks him, saying that if that ever happens, he'll help our boy be number 1 too, and they'll both be at the top. But suddenly, the scene switches to the guy lying in a hospital bed wearing VR goggles. On TV, it says that today, experts were invited to discuss this problem, an incident in the popular game known as Genesis Chronicles Online, be it in Tokyo, Paris, or even in Rio de Janeiro, man. That day marked 1 month since the accident had started. A new station wants to know what the cause is and what possible solutions there are. An old man says that this accident seems like an act of terrorism caused by the developers. Players are being taken hostage. Since the incident started, you can't lure it out, and whoever takes damage in the game feels pain in real life. And if their HP reaches 0 in the game, they also die in the hospital. Man, it's been a while since we've seen a good Sword Art Online style story. What's this? A classic in the making. Obviously, the problem's being caused by this virtual reality headset, and people also die if they try to remove it. In front of the hospital room, the protagonist is there with clenched fists saying it's all his fault. That's because he was the one who gave the virtual reality headset to his younger brother for his birthday, and the old man on TV says that they have no solution whatsoever. So whoever's watching should warn everyone not to log into this game under any circumstance. But back at his house, a protagonist is about to do just that. Right? He knows that if he enters the game, there's a big chance he might die. But just like he always played with Hiroki every day, he knows that his little brother is trapped in there now. Even though his character looked like an adult in the game, obviously, he was just a 12-year-old kid. And if he left him there alone and he died, he would never forgive himself. So he puts the VR headset on and says he's going to save him. In the present, screams echo through the forest. A chubby bunny girl and a tanned human are running desperately. The poor guy, though, man, he trips over a rock and face plants into the ground. Even his body in the hospital twitched a bit. He gets up all trembling, crying, saying he doesn't want to die like this. But when he looks back, something brushes right past his temple. Ah, man. Look at my vocabulary using temple. What's this? Getting all scholarly. And from a distance you can see it was a giant wolf that licked him. Up on the branches there were countless others. And the chubby bunny girl is there trembling all over, desperate and crying, saying she doesn't want to die like this. Game over in the game. Game over in the hospital, man. The beeping stopped. And now it's the girl's turn, who knows there's no way to escape when suddenly 3 of the wolves leap at her. But from far away, there's a Chad arriving with his shield in hand, man. Right at the moment she was about to die, he steps in front and tanks the first wolf. Well, maybe tank is a strong word because he got thrown along with many, both tossed far away. His super resistance of 9,999 uses activated, and with that, he dropped to exactly 1 HP. He was beaten and almost dead, which is a lot better than 100% dead. Right? He asked if the girl is okay, and she thanks him, but tells him to worry about his own health bar. But he says it's all good. It's just a skill he has. This was a talent exclusive to his class. When he had 70% or more HP and received a fatal attack, he would instead drop to 1 HP. Obviously, considering that if his HP had 0, he dies for real. It was terrifying. He drinks a potion, saying he'll never get used to this realistic pain. The problem now is that our boy created this account just to play with his brother and help him level up. In other words, he's at an extremely low level, unlike many other players. And not to mention that Hiroki isn't in the area and got lucky finding this person and managing to save her. He turns to the girl and says he'll try to create an opening and that she should run to the village. As soon as she agrees, he approaches the bushes and sees in front of him a giant creature that killed all the wolves. Immediately, his expression changes and our boy says, "This is a monster that randomly spawns anywhere in this region known as Jack Rex. It's like a mix of a jackal and a tyrannosaurus or a jackalsaurus, maybe." Morky wonders why something like that had to appear right now. He's sure that if this thing detects them, the chance of survival will drop drastically. And, obviously, the second he thinks that, the monster turns his eyes toward him. He runs toward the bunny girl to protect her, and the beast swings a claw but misses. The problem with this mob is that its attacks are completely random. And right at that moment, I saw the beast smack its tail into a rock, which flies toward the two who were trying to escape. The block closes their path, and when Naoki looks back, the monster is about to smack them with its tail again. The attack seems to hit directly, but when the tail lifts up, the King Tanker man was still standing there. With 1 HP, but alive, right, which is what matters. Man, at that moment, he had already used the ability 10,000 times. I thought it was a countdown, like it was going down, but no. That's how many times he's used it. But at that moment, Naoki was sure. No matter how many potions he drank, he wouldn't be able to create enough time and chances to escape from this creature. What makes it even worse is that he has no news about his brother and doesn't even know if he's alive. As a desperate act, he charges forward to punch the boss at the same time the monster comes in to bite him. But, man, this is a man, Wong. Do you really think he's going to die now? Something has to happen, and his special skill activation triggers. After his HP had dropped to 10,000 times, he unlocked the Desperate Soul. Right then, he felt a strange energy running through his body, and his hand was glowing golden. The second the boss's tooth touched his fist, the monster was completely evaporated, shattered into a billion pieces. Man, it was One Punch Man style. The entire place was wiped out and started raining blood. He and the bunny girl were left standing there, not really understanding what had just happened. The line of the attack had dubbed the line for a railroad. He's standing there staring at his hand, not understanding what happened, while the bunny girl is asking why he was hiding such an amazing skill. He explains that he has no idea how it activated. Out of nowhere, a window popped up giving him a skill he had never even seen before. He decides to take another look at the system and max out the Desperate Soul skill. When his HP dropped to 1, the skill boosted his attack to 99.99. However, after 3 minutes, it would return to normal. At the same time that it was something really good, it was also something really risky. That's because, right, the HP ability only activates when he has 70% or more. Meaning, if he's at 1 HP and takes a hit from some random little skeleton, he dies instantly. Apparently, in this story, everyone can see the system windows and the bunny girl comments that she's never seen anything like it. And Mauki explains that ever since he started playing the game, he's only ever helped one person level up. That's why even though he's such a low level, he's already performed so many blocks and dropped to 1 HP so many times. He's confident that with this skill, he can help Hiroki. But it's right at that moment that the bushes in front of them start moving, and 3 more wolves approach. I thought it was going to be some sneaky little bunny girl, but it's clear she's just a real airhead screaming in desperation. At least now, our boy was confident. He's still at 1 HP since he hadn't recovered, and his fist was still activated. Or at least that's what he thought, because when he punches, absolutely nothing happens. At the same moment, he's already running away with her, because if he even got licked, he'd die. While he's running, he says he has no idea why it's not activating. That's when he realizes, right, that it's not that it didn't activate. It's that it's already been 3 minutes since the first activation, and now it's on a 30-minute cooldown. And the worst part is that during this 30 minutes when he can't activate Desperate Soul again, his HP apparently stays stuck at 1. The window doesn't mention anything about that. Right? But that's what the protagonist is saying, and I'm going to trust him. The problem is that, obviously, running from creatures with 1 HP wasn't going to be easy when suddenly the bunny girl breaks free from his arms and runs to the side. He's about to ask what she's doing, but when he looks, she's eating some grass. He tells her to stop with the crazy stuff, but then her mana starts filling up. She touches his chest, uses a clone skill, and duplicates both of the man. The clones dance in front of the wolves and run off in another direction. Ah, clever little things. Now have some real synergy. At least the story makes sure to create skills that actually make sense and work in this situation. Obviously, the real two are still exhausted lying there. Sometime later in the first village of the game, near the fountain, the bunny girl introduces herself as Izuo Ribiko, a level 13 mage. Kind of weird. Right? A bunny girl, but actually a mage. This messed up class. At least our protagonist is simple. Right? Level 8, a tanker. That's sorted out. Nice to meet you. One is thanking the other, while the other is just standing there like a fool, saying that if it weren't for him, she would have died and vice versa. He mentions her restoring mana, and she asks if he's a newbie, not knowing that hobes restore mana. She says it's hilarious that two beginners helped each other this way and almost died. But in the middle of this thought, she starts realizing she really almost died for real and begins crying, saying it was terrifying. Naoki pets her head, right, understanding the situation. At any moment, either he or she can really have died there, all because this cursed world stopped being just a game. Genesis Chronicles Online was an MORP with over 300 million players around the world. Man, that's more people than a lot of countries have. And, obviously, it was famous for its high freedom and immersive world. But suddenly, the game changed, didn't it? The monsters suddenly became savage and started attacking players one after another. That's when it turned into a kind of game where you dream of dying, but people liked it since it became a big challenge. That's when he and his brother had the idea for our boy to use the desperate survival strategy, keeping HP at 1 and managing to stay alive. The problem is, obviously, it's a skill that needs to be used strategically and wisely so he doesn't die like an idiot. The bunny girl is there praising his skill, saying she had no idea it was possible to kill a monster like that with a single attack. For a moment, she thought he was almost like Hiroki. That's the name of his brother, man. Right away, he grabs her shoulders and asks if she knows him. She says that if he's talking about Hiroki, the hero king, of course, she does. Right? He was pretty famous. Besides, when the game started, he also saved her once. The protagonist asks if she can contact him, and she says yes because she has him on her friends list. Our boy didn't have that function unlocked yet because he was too low level when they used to play together. And he asked her to send a message to Hiroki saying that his older brother is with her. With that, someone receives a notification, man. It's Hiroki, slaughtering a bunch of monsters with his hands moving a mile a minute. However, a creature with horns asks him if he thinks that's right and tells him to open the message and respond. Man, Hiroki is standing face to face with what looks like a final boss with 4 arms, and the creature warns him that this is his last chance to leave a message for someone. But Hiroki says he'll talk later to tell him about how he won the fight. Back at the fountain, she tells that to Hina and says she believes he must be too busy to answer. But judging by the location, he's nearby, so they could go and check it out. He says that's a great idea and tells them to head out right away. Oh man, he's definitely going to get there and see his brother dying. No doubt. Hiroki is there standing face to face with the boss, activating his aura and slashing his sword. The creature, however, is just laughing, saying that he really does have an incredible spirit. Hiroki's power fades, he gets thrown to the ground and slides away. The boss approaches along with the dragon and lands on the ground. He praises the boy for being a true hero. The creature's name is Zell and is a level 63 demon king. Yeah, honestly, that level isn't even that high, right? And, apparently, he's still leveling up too. And he says that the boy lives up to the title. Man, Hiroki's already level 65. He's the king of grinding. Ah, now I understood from what Hiroki said, man. That's not a monster. It's actually a PK player with the demon king class. And, obviously, the huge problem is that he had a dragon like that as a mount, which was a level 58 creature, making things hard for him. Considering the aura he sees coming from this guy and one similar to what he saw in creatures around the area, he wonders if this is the one causing all the chaos, and he lets out a sigh and says he's going to put an end to this mess. Zell replies that he really is pretty cool. That's when he notices there's a group of adventurers there, 2 men, a bunch of curious people just watching. The demon king laughs and leaps toward them. Hiroki tries to warn them, telling him to stop, but it's too late. The boss had already grabbed 2 of them by the face and activated a forbidden skill called the Gate of Beasts. 1 second later, the 2 turned into a bunch of monsters. Hiroki, furious, jumps toward him, saying he has to stop this person who's messing with others. The problem is he hesitates for a second, thinking that if he kills these guys here, they'll die in real life too. So he decides to dodge instead, slips between the 2 of them, heads for the other one, leaps over him, and lands on Zell's back. He swings another slash, and this time, he lands a clean hit on the Demon King's chest. Angry, the creature commands the dragon to act. But right at that moment, man, a slash had already torn into his dragon too. What the heck, man? And Hiroki, with a serious face, asks why the guy is doing this. But I couldn't believe that this damn kid was this strong. And then he says that he doesn't want to destroy this world. It's because it's perfect. A world without privileges or useless barriers, where the strong live with the freedom they deserve. Obviously, since he's a lover of all that, he doesn't want to destroy a place that offers something like this. Hiroki, however, shouts saying that it makes no sense to love a place that's killing countless people. At that, Zell puts his hand on the ground and says that apparently, they have different opinions, summoning countless creatures. He says the vote isn't in Hiroki's favor. Right then, Hiroki understands that this guy is transforming countless people and creatures, and he charges at him, calling him a bastard. Seeing him fighting among all the monsters, Zell wonders whether this guy is going to survive. In this game, level isn't something that absolutely guarantees victory, so he knows that even with the advantage of numbers, Hiroki could win. On the other hand, for a moment, he saw the weakness when Hiroki hesitated, and that's something he can exploit. Hiroki is cutting down the creatures coming from all sides, but after a few attacks, he notices that Zell had escaped. He jumps up looking around trying to find him, but suddenly his expression changes. And then we see that nearby, the bunny girl is arriving. Our boy points saying that he's seen countless defeated monsters around there. Just when suddenly, Zell appears in front of the two of them and reaches for their faces. Man, a whole panel drenched in blood, and the demon smiles saying it's admirable in that attitude. Oh man. Hiroki is there with blood dripping from his mouth asking if Naoki is okay. The problem is, obviously, that Zell's hand had pierced through his chest. I get that Hiroki was desperate to save his brother, but still, man, he should remember that the protagonist doesn't drop below 1 HP from the first hit just like that. And here comes our boy with the drama, saying that he came to this world to save his brother no matter the cost and no matter what he would have to do. But right in front of him, there's Hiroki with a hole through his chest, and he can't believe it. Before he can say anything, Zell pulls his arm sideways, reaping what's left of Hiroki's shoulder. Even a piece of his cloak falls to the ground, and, unfortunately, the Hero King's HP drops to 0. His body hits the asphalt face first, and the system announces that the player Hero King has been defeated by the player, Zell. That message pops up to everyone who had Hero King on the friends list. Apparently, he had already saved countless players, pretty much everyone in the starter town. On the ground, he calls out for Naoki. While at the hospital, his heartbeat flatlines. Meanwhile, Zell standing there smiles, saying that finally, the hero has been defeated. Poor Naoki tries to punch him, but misses like an idiot. The demon laughs, asking if he was a friend of the Hero King. He dodges, saying it's a shame, and punches Naoki in the face, saying condolences have already been given. He puts his hand on the ground, starts summoning a bunch of creatures, and says he'll help him go visit his brother. An explosion happens right in front of Zell, and is happy, saying there goes another loser. But, man, when he looks to the side, who's walking out of the smoke with full HP, Zell is a little confused, not understanding how he survived that. And, obviously, it wasn't just the ability that triggered. The demon sends the rest of the creatures to attack, but our protagonist just throws his hand up and slices one out of nowhere, man. Now the demon realizes that it's not going to be that easy. He grits his teeth, summons even more monsters, and orders them all to attack the boy. But even surrounded on all sides, man, Naoki still had 3 minutes of immunity. A second later, Zell wonders what happened. Half his body had been evaporated, and he didn't even see what hit him. Our boy had dug out another railroad line man, and the demon had no idea how someone so low level could be this strong. But suddenly, Zell disappears from in front of him, and Naoki is left wondering where he went. He asks if Rabiko can do anything, but she just shakes her head saying no. And then she tells him to notice that Desperate Soul had already ended. Wasn't that supposed to last 3 minutes? It felt like he threw one punch, and it was over, man. I guess it must have taken a little more than just one punch to finish off the monsters. Right? It's just that it kind of got summarized. With that, says there's no way they can face a strong guy like that without his ability, and Naoki slams the ground screaming at the skies. Meanwhile, Zell appears somewhere else in the forest, missing an arm. He opens a window there and makes a call to someone. Right away, he asks what the hell that attack was that he took. He had never seen such a ridiculous skill before. He asks if it's some cheat, and the person responds no. It's a skill called Desperate Soul, a kind of secret talent. Zell says they should disable something like that, but the person apologizes, saying, unfortunately, they won't interfere with other people's abilities. Besides, only he himself could deal with a boy. After all, he's not immortal. Zell says it's fine. He knows that those who break the order of things must be eliminated. Then we had a little flashback to the starter village back when Naoki was beginning to help level up his brother. He was struggling there fighting against a little goblin, saying that this stuff was harder than he imagined. His brother says, no way goblins were the weakest monsters. He should at least be able to kill one. But Mauki is complaining, saying he had just installed this thing and didn't even understand how to control the character properly yet. His brother says it's okay then, jumps at the goblin, and slices it in half in a second. He turns back and tells Mauki that he's going to have to learn to do these things. That was the only way he could save someone one day. But now back in the same village and in the present, man, there's our boy under a tree, all emo. While the chubby bunny girl is just there sadly staring at him, says it's already been a week that has been like that. Oh man, you're stuck in your emo dark. We need to get over this quickly. If you stay 1 week like this, Zell's leveling up, man. You don't have time to sit under the tree. She says it's already okay, but he says no. What happened was his fault. While looking at the piece of cloak, he keeps talking to himself, saying that he should have focused more when he was playing with his brother, or that he should never have given the game to him. He's sure it's his fault that he was the one who killed Hiroki. Izugoi looks at the boy and then suddenly gives him a little hug, telling him he shouldn't blame himself. She's sure that Hiroki wouldn't want that. He was the one who enjoyed the game the most. She always thought it was amazing how he had that hero vibe, and now she understands that he was like that because of his older brother. He must be blaming himself for giving his brother the game, but it was thanks to that he saved countless people. And she's sure his brother wouldn't want to see him crying and sad like this. Of course, he shouldn't forget everything that happened, but at least he should move forward. With that man, Naoki's sadness arc is over. He wiped his tears and said that he's sure his brother loved this world, and that's why he won't let it be destroyed. He turns to the tree and tells his brother that what he wanted to protect, he'll protect in his place. He writes the hero's name and says he'll help everyone in his place. And beyond that, he's going to take revenge on Zell. He wasn't going to leave this game the simple death. Next scene, Malkin knew. The first thing he needed was to keep leveling up. Even though he had desperate soul, he needed to develop all his other attributes. A monkey is charging at him to punch while he's thinking that he needs to become as strong or even stronger than Hiroki was. Yeah, that's the minimum, right? Considering his brother died, he really has to get stronger than him. He dodges an attack and says he also has to improve his combat sense. The stronger he gets, the more players he'll be able to protect. Then the monkey lands a clean hit on him. But for inside the smoke, Mauki already appears using the Devipo Monstrango ability. He levels up to 13, and in the middle of all that, I'll save you, Hiroki Gao, Izua runs past. Obviously, with some low-level monkeys chasing after her, he's already back to leveling up and reaches 16. As soon as the fight ends, he's already drinking potions and trying to level up as fast as possible to kill that damsel. The problem is that at the same time, he knows that guy is also a player, meaning he's leveling up too. Not to mention he's much faster than him, so Naoki has to be careful not to get caught off guard during cooldowns. At least, Izoe was always attracting a bunch of monsters, which helped him farm more easily. Even though she always seemed like an idiot, she's apologizing, saying she's scared, and Naoki tells her that she should use magic and be more confident. Both teleportation skills and clone creation could be used smartly. She explains, though, that she learned those two exactly because they are perfect for running away. Embarrassed, she tries to explain that she's naturally cowardly. That's why even though she's been in the game for a long time, she's still low level. It's because, right, this game only gives you experience when you land the final hit. He tells her not to worry. He's going to fight Cell alone, basically telling her, either get stronger or stay out of the way, girl. But she gets a little awkward, saying that's crazy. You can't go alone. At the very least, she has to get a little stronger and level up. He says if that's the case, she should try getting some better gear so she'll feel safer. Looking at her outfit, she realizes she's really not very protected. But, unfortunately, she doesn't have the money to buy armor either. She could ask a player with the blacksmith class. But the problem is those guys aren't usually found in the beginner areas. He tells her not to worry. They can go to the village and try to find one. A little vort for the whore on his forehead says he knows a really good blacksmith. The two of them tell them to spill it already, and he reveals that it's actually just a rumor, someone called Else. Right away, Izui gets excited and asks if it's the real Else. Navuki has no idea who that is, so she explains that the person known as Else in the game is actually Tsubasa Yamaha in real life. Apparently, she's a super famous actress because even Naoki knows the name. Not only was she famous for her movies, but she was also a hardcore gamer. Her gaming channel had more than 1,200,000 subscribers, and in the game, she was an incredible blacksmith. Naoki says she seems really excited, and she responds that Tsubasa is her favorite actress. Then the little dwarf says it's a shame. Even though there's a rumor she's around here, he himself has never seen her, and it seems like she hasn't shown up for about 2 months. The scene changes to a cave where Tsubasa is wiping sweat off her face. Obviously, in the game, she's the blacksmith Else collecting materials. The problem is that it's going really slowly because she's always alone. She needed the help of other people, but she's tired of depending on others. She grabs her pickaxe and says she'll never ask anyone for help again. Let's try guessing her trauma right. She was in a group of friends who helped her collect materials. They hit on her and tried to pull some forbidden crap, and obviously, she ran. And that's why now she hates being in a group. Place your bets, but no copying my guess, you sly dog. Meanwhile, Naoki and the bunny girl are walking through the forest saying they needed to find her. Right? Because they really needed equipment. But says that's obvious, but how were they supposed to find someone who had disappeared for 2 months when suddenly the branches in the tree start moving? When they look up, a spider was getting ready to attack them. She's already trembling with fear, but Naoki stands brave, saying he's just going to take one hit, drop to 1 HP, and then deal with it. Until Izzy explains that this spider always attacks 5 or 6 times in a row, meaning his HP would drop to 1, and then he'd immediately die, which obviously makes them both start running like crazy. After running through a good part of the forest, they end up in front of a cliff. And, obviously, now corner, there was nowhere else to go. That's what I was about to say. Right? She grabbed his hand and threw herself down. I'd have done the same. At worst, he falls, sticks at 1 HP, and they both survive. But she opens a portal just before hitting the ground and tosses them to the side. Yeah, I guess her portal has pretty short range because if it was longer, she could have just opened it from the top straight down. The two of them are exhausted there, crying when someone appears in front of them. Or, actually, right, they fell straight in front of Els, who was gathering materials. It seems Asura recognizes her right away, so there was no way the girl could even pretend not to be that person. But the moment Asura said the name Els, the girl ran off desperately with a pickaxe on her back. Our boy calls out to the Minecraft queen, asking her to help them. They needed a blacksmith's items. But suddenly, she stops, opens her inventory, and creates a rain of shields. And from behind the wall of shields, she says she doesn't want anyone getting involved with her. It wasn't just a simple rain of shields. She builds an impenetrable wall there. Izangoa says that's a classic elves move, practically a bug. It seems that blacksmiths have a special ability where they can summon items from their inventory without using them normally, and she abuses that bug to summon tons of items at once. Clearly, you could see there were at least 100 of them stacked in front of them. Izzy always screaming, apologizing, saying they don't want to bother her. When suddenly, they hear footsteps behind them. Turning around, they see that the spider from earlier had climbed down the mountain. Of course. Right? It's a spider, you idiots. You should have known it could climb down easily. The two of them are desperate, not knowing where to run. And so, Els realizes she'll have to help the little brats. She dispels the barrier right as the spider is coming in to attack. At that moment, a bunch of portals appear above the creature and the girl summons the rain of items. The items fall kind of crooked, kind of clumsy, but there were so many that in the end, the monster gets crushed. From the back, Els says that she already saved their lives. That was more than enough. Then she says goodbye and says she doesn't want to talk to anyone. Peace was gone, just leaving the two of them behind. Azeo says that now they are screwed. Not only did they fail to get closer, but they also made her mad. Sometime later, near a waterfall, Els enters her cabin. On the floor, there are a bunch of items she had crafted, and she sits down on a chair. She remembers a time when she was doing a live stream saying she was about to get a very rare material. The people on the stream were excited, and she said that with it, she would make a cool item and give it to one of her viewers. That was the day she tried to log out, but for the first time, she couldn't anymore. Someone behind her called out to Tsubasa Yamaha. Obviously, right, it was the sketchiest dude ever. He jumps in desperate saying that now that they were trapped forever, this was the perfect chance. Before Els could do anything, a few other people helped hold the guy down, telling her not to worry. Sometime later, the reality hit that she was stuck inside the game. Several players were gathered in a room saying that everyone was desperate, and it seems like the people who were famous in the real world, right, are becoming targets in this place because of it. That's why those guys, supposedly all nice and friendly, decided to protect her. Nothing suspicious at all, right? This guy suddenly super interested in protecting her. Sure. Shitty, however, stands up saying she doesn't wanna just be protected. She picks up her hammer and says she also wants to help people protect themselves, and that's why she wants to craft items for everyone. The group got excited and they all went into the mountains to hunt for minerals to help her. They spent time chatting around the campfire and hunting in the forest. Not long after, everyone was already getting fully equipped. But, Elsa happiness didn't last very long. On one of the days they went out hunting, everyone ended up being killed. Damn it. I lost my bet. What a curse. Who guessed she was going to lose her party in an honest, tragic way? Even the archer, the one I was about to judge, thinking he was shady. He's there, sacrificing himself for her, telling her to run. And so she finally disappeared from there. She left, telling herself that all of it was her fault. Wasn't strong enough to help in battle and didn't manage to craft good enough gear to protect them. In the end, she sacrificed everyone just to get out alive. Oh my god. Here comes the drama. Just like our protagonist, two crybabies. They already make the perfect couple. She was still alone in the cave thinking she couldn't drag anyone else down the same path. Then the scene switches to Zell, who was face to face with a skeleton, saying he's heading to the northern region. He turns around and tells his subordinates to do their jobs properly. A little demon girl, you can already tell she's going to be dangerous, and a buff dude who you can already tell is going to be a pain to beat. Their mission was to bring Else over to their side. The two of them grin like lunatics, saying they'll obey the command. Back to our little squad, still sitting there on the depression bench, when suddenly the two demons appear outside. Meanwhile, Else was getting up, saying she needed to gather a few more materials. At least she hoped that this time she wouldn't run into anyone. What? Well, we already know who's coming behind the waterfall. An explosion goes off, and she's thrown far away. Man, when the demon-human Lawsel gave the mission, I thought they were going to try pretending to be friendly or something. But, no, they just kicked the door down from the start, and the two demons already give a little hello to the legendary blacksmith Else. She immediately knows these guys aren't players. They are demons. The buff guy asks if she has any idea why a monster like him came hunting her. Obviously not. Right? So before she can even answer, he explains, saying he has a message for Mr. Zell. From now on, she would serve him. That name Zell was one she had already heard once, the guy who's been going around killing players. The buff guy says Zell wants to transform the world into a better place, and for that, he obviously needs equipment, and she's going to be the one responsible for forging it. She would forge the weapons that would eliminate all the rebels. Else doesn't look very excited about it. She opens her inventory and says that she understands the offer, but, unfortunately, she wouldn't use her skills to kill people like that. With that, she puts up a wall of shields. But, man, the demon just hugged it and shattered everything. Except that when he looked again, man, she was gone. She had slipped away like a worm through tunnels while telling herself that she didn't want to create weapons to help people kill each other, just like what happened with her party. She was about to say something about why she makes equipment when suddenly she hears a strange noise. Man, a hand comes down from above, breaking through the ceiling, and she gets pulled through a hole. The buff guy praises Enkidu for managing to catch the little brat. Then he approaches her and says there's no way she can win, but it was really impressive that she got a plan like that to escape. Else realizes that these guys had easily wrecked her whole cave, which proved that it would be really hard for her to escape from them. The buff guy says she seems way too smart. He needed some kind of strategy so she wouldn't be able to escape. Then he says he got an idea and stabs a dagger into the poor girl's leg. Man. He even says that since she's a blacksmith, legs surely won't be missed. Then Incubi brings her closer and the guy says not to worry. He's going to rip both legs off really quick. Man, he was really getting ready to cut her up, already summoning his hammer. But from a distance, someone was aiming with a bow. An arrow comes from the top of the mountain, and, damn, it hits him right in the shoulder. I thought it was going to be our Chad boys showing up, but no, folks. When the demon looks back, it's also our old group led by the red mohawk guy, the one unfairly judged, who tells him that he has no way to escape, so he better give up. Elsa's wondering what they are doing there. Meanwhile, the demon is laughing, saying humans think they are going to win just because they have numbers. Ironic. He starts preparing an attack in his hand, telling Else to watch carefully. She's about to find out what happens to those who defy Lord Zell. Suddenly, a gigantic sword appears in the sky. And, man, when I say gigantic, I mean bigger than the whole forest. Poor Else, she's grabbing her head, being forced to watch everything, and the entire group that had just shown up to help her was about to be evaporated. She screams, telling the guy to stop and saying she'll obey. But he turns to her and says it's too late now. The human group is just staring up the sky, not even knowing where to run. She screams again, crying, but it's over, man. A sword the size of a building falls down on all of them. Poor elves. Man, now even I'm feeling sorry for her. All she wanted was to live in peace, man. Leave her alone already. The demon is laughing, saying it was actually a pretty cool ending, but suddenly, he notices something strange. What could it be? Someone surviving with 1 HP. It was him, the demon himself, man. Right under the sword, our Chad boy had blocked the attack. And at the same time, for the second time in this story, the bunny girl was actually useful for something. She used teleport to get the others out from underneath. Else recognized the two of them, and the demons seemed to know about our boy too. He's the guy Zell had talked about. Hearing that, Naoki asks if this bastard is an ally of that guy. Before the demon can answer, Naoki already grabs the sword tip, smashes it, and throws it back at the guy. Careful, man. Elsa's still there. You're gonna end up killing her too. But since it was demon magic, the guy just flicks his finger and changes the direction. The buff demon comments that Mauka really has insane endurance to have blocked that attack. Then out of nowhere, the author draws a panel of Mauka just saying, like, thanks. No big deal. Like, the bad praises him and is just like, thanks, bro. Respect. Then the demon continues saying that now Naoki is on his last breath, so he should just give up already. Naoki replies that both he and Zell are underestimating his strength. Then look at this. A little teleport portal appears at Elsa's feet. Man, the two demons are confused, and the buff demon knows that bunny teleportation magic is supposed to only work at short distances. Yeah. And considering she's, like, right next to them, that distance is more than enough. The girl is getting bold now. She dives right through the middle of the demons. Where did all that courage come from? The buff demon realizes that when Naoki threw the sword earlier, it wasn't to try attacking. It was to create a distraction so she could get close. Rubiko says it's not over yet, man. She teleports in, kicks the demon girl, Enkidu, in the back, and drops her to the ground. The three girls get teleported together and land in another area. At least now, Alitz jumps into action too. She pulls out a dagger and stabs one of the demons. Meanwhile, Enkidu, that little demon girl, looks to the side, and a fireball is already coming her way. She had been tossed right into the middle of the human group man, and the Mohawk guy says the rescue mission was a success. Oh, you sly devils. Were you working together from the start? You're real slick, humanity finally coming together. Enkidu is in shock, man, and the buff demon is trying to approach. But, man, Naoki almost smacked him right in the head, telling him that his opponent is here. The demon says is looking forward to seeing what kind of reward Zell will give him for killing the boy. Meanwhile, the rest of the humans are escaping. The Mohawk guy pulls out a little potion to help Rabiko and runs to recover some mana. Else then asks, right, what the Mohawk guy is doing there with those two, and he explains that ever since she left the group, he's been watching over her. Ah, man. Being in love does crazy things. They knew she was blaming herself for what happened, so he decided to keep protecting her from afar just in case anything happened. Isaiah says that when they heard the explosions in the cave, they rushed over and quickly came up with a plan to save her. Else would be crying, girl, don't waste your whole stock of tears now. She asks why they went so far to save someone who's been trying to push everyone away. And, man, out of nowhere, the red Mohawk comes out with a declaration, girl. He says her kindness, her smile, and her very existence are everyone's hope. Oh, poor guy. He's forever stuck in the friend zone. At least she's moved, apologizing for running away without saying anything. The Mohawk guy says it's fine, and that when this game ends, they'll visit their fallen comrades' graves together. But right at that moment, Enkidu shows up in front of them. All the humans are trembling, and she says she'll help everyone get to the cemetery faster. Isaiah knew that Enkidu was a level 70 demon, and since she serves Zell, her attacks were way more unpredictable. Before, everything seemed easy because they had the advantage of planning and catching them by surprise. But now she was starting to get insecure and wondering if she should just run away. Looking at everyone, she's sure the humans are strong enough, plus she's low level and would just get in the way if she stayed. She's freaking out, telling herself that fleeing is definitely the best course of action. But suddenly, her expression changes and she says no. She was tired of always running away. Up until that moment, Isaiwa Arabiko had lived a life full of shame. In school, she believed she wouldn't pass any good university, so she barely even tried studying. At university, she started thinking it was fine to fail a few subjects, so she just let it go. As she grew up and had to find a job, she found interviews too scary. That's why she preferred simple little jobs instead of trying anything more difficult. And even when she did get a job, any little excuse, like a bit of rain, was enough for her to skip work. Without thinking much and wanting easy way out, she decided to start streaming, but she never passed 53 viewers. She apologized to her live audience, saying she got too scared of the horror game and preferred to quit. But the viewers didn't like that, telling her she always ran away and that she should at least finish something for once. Seeing those messages, she thought they should understand that really was scary. Running away wasn't so wrong in a situation like that. She decided that maybe she should pick a more normal game and ended up testing Genesis online where everyone got trapped. She had always been a coward, a crybaby, scared of everything. And, obviously, after the game incident, it only got worse. She had met the hero, Naoki Els, and the members of the Royal Guard. All of them fought without running away, but she was different. Two poor humans who looked like they were about to die charged toward Enkidu. The Mohawk guy tries to warn them not to rush in without a plan, but it's too late. Enkidu says it's easier that way and suddenly stabs straight through each of their chests. The poor guys fall to the ground, writhing in poison. Enkidu says that anyone who takes even 1 point of damage from her ends up dying from the poison. Obviously, there were some antidotes that could be used, but there wouldn't be enough time. They were going to save her a slow death. Els says that woman is known as the Poison Snake Princess. That's because of her unpredictable attacks and poisons. Still, it was better to be facing Enkidu than Gilga, who's even stronger, but she wasn't sure if they could win this. She looks to the side and sees that Rabika was standing bravely man. She has stepped forward and was leading the group. Enkidu stared her down, and our girl raised a hand. And then she suddenly took off running. Yeah, kind of peculiar. Everyone was startled. The demon just laughed, saying it was pathetic, but actually the smartest move. I thought Ravika was pulling off some genius plan, but nope. She was really thinking that people don't change so easily. She was gonna run for real. Oh, you little rat. She's playing so many mind games, and I fell for them. She faked running away, opened a portal, and jumped over Enkidu, telling herself this time she's only running away if it's with everyone else. Right after tackling the demon to the ground, she turns back and yells for everyone to attack. Everyone starts summoning weapons, fleeing tons of projectiles. The demon can't react in time. Explosion happens. It's good Rabiko managed to escape from there. Everyone was worried about exactly that when suddenly, out of the smoke, something comes flying. Rabiko crashes to the ground with 49 HP left. At least she fought, man. I'll forgive her this time. The problem is Enkidu was going through a transformation. Oh boy. That's a dangerous evolution. She grew a lot stronger. Yeah. Latent power activated, and the monster thanks them for forcing her into this form. It would be perfect for killing everyone there. Else knows this is the demon's trump card, which activates when her HP falls below 30%, meaning they are close. The problem is you could already see on Rabiko's body the number 300, which immediately dropped to 299. The countdown of how many seconds she had left to live had started, and Enkidu says that while she's in this form, anyone attacked by her would die within 5 minutes. Else is panting again, thinking everyone is going to die because of her. But now Rabiko's brave, saying that this time, they'll survive together. I'm calling her Rabiko because her full name is Izue Rabiko. And, honestly, Rabiko sounds cooler. And there she goes once again, walking alone toward the boss. Else watches her go, closes her eyes, and then calls out to Rabiko, telling her to wait. Since the day of her old group died, Else had sworn she didn't want her equipment to be used for killing anymore. But now things have changed, and a window pops up for Rabiko asking if she wants to receive the messenger's mantle. Endo starts the whole Powerpuff Girls transformation sequence, man. Rabiko's spinning around, lights flashing everywhere, glitter, sparkles, stars, and suddenly, the messenger's mantle is equipped. Else says her items are meant to protect her companions. Rabiko was standing there, face all bugged out, amazed at the item she received. Else is trying to explain the armor's abilities, but the brat won't stop jumping around. Meanwhile, the evil demon girl is there mocking, saying it's good she changed clothes for the funeral because Rabiko only had 248 of life left. Rabiko is trying to think of something when Else says she'll explain the armor's effects, but, girl, Inkibi wasn't about to let them sit there planning. She charges straight at them, Ult immediately activates her shield skill, and traps herself and the adventurer group inside a barrier, leaving the demon outside. It seems Inkibiu is trying to break through but can't. She starts preparing a spell in her hand, creating a poison bomb. A shield starts melting. The problem is the gas is leaking inside too, and says that little by little, everyone inside will get infected. But inside, a bunch of shields start forming a staircase and Rabiko climbs to the high ground. Asks if their little plan is ready. Rabiko just ignores her, prepares a shot, and fires an arrow at her. The demon easily catches it mocking, saying that was such a pathetic trick. She's sure the girl only has magic abilities and nothing offensive. She even jumps forward herself, saying she was expecting something a little more interesting. But in the middle of the charge, Rabiko activated the ability that belonged to the Tsukuyomi mantle. Couldn't have been an Akatsuki cloak. Right? Real stylish. Rabiko then starts floating with a moon shining behind her back, and Kyu goes to ask what hell kind of form this is, and right then, the girl uses a teleport skill. But, this wasn't just any teleport. She summoned countless teleportation portals. That's because this outfit gives her infinite mana for 3 minutes. She started bouncing between portals non-stop, and Enkidu couldn't keep up with her movements. But Enkidu calmed down. Even if the girl was unpredictable, she couldn't deal much damage, so it was irrelevant. But Rabiko already knew that too, man. She then used the teleportation to bring the entire party around Enkidu surrounding her. All those crazy jumps from portal to portal were just a distraction to trap the demon, and now the idiot realized she had no escape. She screamed, calling out for Zell. An explosion erupted at the center of the battlefield, and shortly after, 18 seconds on Rabiko's countdown disappeared. Finally, the poison snake princess Enkidu had been defeated. It's sad to see such a powerful demon fall. Right? But farewell. The humans are all celebrating, shouting, and jumping around. Else comes over to thank Rabiko, saying that if it weren't for her, none of them would have survived. Rabiko was all adorable, smiling, saying the hearing that made her happy. But now it was time to deal with Gilga. Naoki was still in middle of his fight. Rabiko says that since her armor still gave her 3 minutes of human time, she was going to help him. In another part of the forest, our boy is still there, ability still active. He says that 3 minutes haven't passed yet, but the math doesn't add up. Because if Ankitu poisoned Rabika, well, she had 500 seconds left, and it ended with 18 seconds. More than 3 minutes had already passed, and our boy had activated his skill when the sword fell. Apparently, poor author, math's not their strong suit, or maybe there'll be a plot twist where it turns out Mauki can now deactivate and reactivate it or extend it somehow. Who knows? What he is sure of is that if he lands a hit, he wins. But damn Gilda, he's floating a ton of weapons around him, telling Naoki to come at him, because as soon as his desperate skill ends, Naoki will die. With courage, Naoki charges forward. Remember, right? With the ability active, he's sitting at 1 HP. The demon raises a hand and saying he admires Naoki's bravery. Among all those floating weapons, one's about to hit Naoki. He remembers that the first time he saw this attack, he froze in fear. He knows if he's hit, he's dead, but now he can't afford to hesitate. Gilda smiles and sends another wave of attacks, but he wasn't expecting our artist boy to bust out the esquiva swag man. Look at our boy styling, jumping over, sliding to the side, dodging two at once. Talk about him. Gilda is stunned that Naoki's dodging everything. As Naoki charges in, he thinks he has no other option, dodge or die. He throws some rocks at Gilda, but the demon easily blocks with a sword. However, in that little distraction, Naoki gets behind him, aiming straight for his head. But Gilda grins and summons more weapons around him. At that moment, Naoki realizes he won't be able to dodge this one. Just like he thought, he couldn't win this alone. But, man, look who's coming. The sneaky bunny girl is pulling off another trick. Not only did she say our boy, but she's teleporting around like a mad woman. She drops next to Naoki and gives him a thumbs up. Yoda is confused, wanting to know what happened to Enkidu. Rubiko throws out a cool line saying she was defeated by the power of the moon, and the two of them are just casually chatting while the demon's losing his mind. Yoga summons even more weapons to attack, but Rubiko preps a teleport saying she's not gonna let that happen. With that, all the weapons get sucked into the portals and, apparently, get sent off into the void. Raviko then tells our boy that her mana will stay infinite for at least one more minute. During that time, he didn't need to worry. She would protect him. Man, Naoki didn't hesitate at all. He heard that and, in the very next second, charged forward. Gilda found it a little frustrating, but he was sure there was no way he could lose anyway. It became easier for Mauki to dodge the attacks, but remember, he only needed one hit to die since he had 1 HP. The problem was that Mauki was weaving from side to side just like they did against Enkidu. At that moment, Gilda realized exactly how his friend had been defeated, but he started smiling like a maniac, saying that he was stronger than her and wouldn't lose. He knew the only person who had a decent attack was Mauki. So as long as Mauki didn't get close enough, he'd be fine. Next time he tried to attack, Gilbert just needed to dodge or land the first blow. He kept tracking Naoki's movements until the protagonist appeared right behind him. Gilda smiled, sure he had caught him. He already knew Naoki would try to bluff and then attack from behind. He turned and stabbed with full force, but it was the boy's clone man. The demon got completely confused and the clone even threw a little subwave. And now down from Gilda's blind spot, Naoki comes in to deliver the final blow. While he remembers that he had discussed it with Rabiko, combining her clones and teleportations made a deadly combo, now he hits Gilda right in the gut. And, man, as usual, when a full hit connects, the monster is evaporated. At the same time, the rest of the guild was running toward them, and they arrived just in time to see the clouds parting, the sun shining, and our boy standing there like a true Chad. General Gilda had been defeated, and our boy leveled up. Else can't believe the two of them alone managed to beat that creature. Rabiko's happily waving to everyone when suddenly the protagonist starts walking off. He goes straight up to Else and stands face to face with her. I thought he was about to drop some epic line or maybe grab her and kiss her, resolve everything right there. But no, man. He's standing there all awkward and apologizes, saying he neglected her feelings and how she must have felt after those demons killed his brother. At that moment, Rabiko blurts out that his brother was the hero king. Else is there thinking quietly and says that she doesn't want anyone else to go through the same thing. That's why they have to stop that guy. Now he finally says what we were waiting for. He says he knows it's a selfish request, but he wants her to join them. Rabiko's saying he's exaggerating that she wouldn't accept something like that so easily, but he insists she's strong, and it would be good to have her on the team. Besides, if she keeps wandering around alone and gets hunted down by Zell, she might lose her life. Else asks if he's sure he won't be defeated by Zell. Meaning, obviously, she wants to accept. But if the kid's weak, she's out. But, man, the protagonist is confident. He says he guarantees there's no way they'll lose. Besides, in case of emergency, Rabika, the great coward, could always help everyone escape. Else gets emotional, turns to the group of adventurers, and says that for now, she'll travel with these two. Together, they would stop the Demon King. Poor Mohawk guy is stuck forever in the friend zone, and is sitting there making a scene, saying it's way too dangerous. But Else bows her head and says things won't get better until Zell is defeated. With their help, she's sure they can do it. Poor Mohawk guy, man. He looks at the whole group who just agrees without hesitation and says, "Fine then." He walks up to our boy, and the way it's drawn is like a single tiny little line between the two. He says he knows our boy is strong and asks him to protect Else. Our boy gives him a nod and shakes his hand, saying that Else is safe with him. And with that, the Mohawk guy learned that in this world, bald guys don't stand a chance. Back at the waterfall, Else turns and says she's leaving. Everyone says goodbye and wishes her a good journey. Our boy's group disappears into the horizon. Meanwhile, the Mohawk guy asks the people up on the ridge to watch over them. But, really, something was watching from up there, and it wasn't the god-man. It was a demon. Obviously, just a little spy passing information along to Zell, who was disappointed, saying that in the end, neither Enkidu nor Gilda had been of any use. Lately, he really couldn't count on anyone. He'd have to solve everything himself. He glances to the side and asks if they agree. On top of the mountain, I see 2 humans and 1 guy dressed in red. Who are you guys, developers of the game or something? You've got gear way too decked out for beginners. Back with our boys' group, Rabiko throws something on the ground that creates a smoke wall. Really, the girl's only skills are escape-related. Considering our boy fights with 1 HP when he's at full power, it makes sense. Turns out it wasn't a new ability. It's an item Else made that fits her style perfectly. If she started combining it with her clones and teleportations, she could pull off some pretty crazy stuff. Obviously, the bunny girl's celebrating because this would really be super useful. And, apparently, the Yoon gave her a flashbang. 1 throw on the ground and the whole forest lights up. She's there all emotional, rubbing the little balls in her face, saying she doesn't even know how to express how grateful she is. It was just too good. Tells her there's no mean to thank her so much, and says it's time for them to move forward. They needed to remember that Zell was a player too. He was still evolving. That's why they needed a drastic way to strengthen themselves if they were going to beat him. Says she understands the problem, and they start thinking about provoking other players. Then Rabiko opens the system and says she'll check the ranking. Her expression suddenly changes and she tells them to take a look too. There was a report that a fight had broken out involving the 3 Norse gods, 3 players who were among the top 10 strongest in the game. Naoki asks what happened. Among the snowy mountains, we see. What the? Zell lying dead on the ground. Man, he lost the fight. The demon got wrecked. The warriors, there are talking saying that guy with the Demon King title wasn't that strong after all. An old man says to take him to Basilia prison and lock him up while he's still weak. But, yeah, Zell wasn't gonna go down that easily. He starts laughing on the ground and stands up, saying he had been waiting for the chance to fight the strongest players. Crazy. Even compliments our boy, saying that little Tanker had given him more trouble. Cracks his neck all casual, saying how disappointing it all was. The buff warrior tells him to quit making excuses, but the mage warns everyone to be careful. All the wounds they inflicted on Zell had already disappeared. The elves tell them not to worry. With or without caution, the outcome won't change. Suddenly, a giant dragon appears above them. It looks like the transmission cuts off or something happens. Rabiko is there, terrified, saying that those 3 players were defeated and have been missing for 3 weeks. Else says that it's impossible for them to win. If the top players failed, what chance do they have? But Mauki, as optimistic as ever, says that just because they disappeared doesn't mean they are dead. Maybe they are just missing. That's why he wants to go and rescue them. Else says it's crazy, but if they go quietly, at least they might be able to find out what really happened. He agrees and says the rescue mission is starting. Crazy plan. But here we go into the snowy mountains. Rabiko's freezing to death, obviously. Her outfit barely covers anything. Else is handing out some warm drinks to the 2 of them, saying it should help at least a little. She also says it's weird, though. There aren't any monsters in the area. Naoki says that's perfect. They'll move faster. But it's then they spot a strange figure standing there in the middle of nowhere. The 2 recognize him immediately, one of the top 3 players who had supposedly died. The one known as the cold-hearted Loki. Rabiko wants to go wave hello, but, obviously, Else tells her something's wrong. The guy calls out their names, starts preparing a spell in his hand, and tells them to kneel. Naboki barely manages to dive out of the way, pulling the 2 girls with him, but the guy warns them.